Sailing between Fatu Hiva and Hiva Oa, the rudder shaft came uncoupled. In this episode of Slowboat Sailing, you will see an easy trip to and from Hiva Oa goes awry when the propeller shaft comes uncoupled and the anchor deploys in deep water. You will see me explore two secret anchorages near Atuona that are seldom visited by cruisers. Subscribe to Slowboat Sailing so you can see our around-the-world sailing adventure and other ripped from the headlines stories about the most interesting cruisers in the world. Things went wrong very early in my trip from Fatu Hiva to Hiva Oa. I got an early start because I wanted to get to the gas station in Atuona before a long holiday weekend. Okay, so sailing between Fatu Hiva and Hiva Oa, the rudder shaft came uncoupled, and this was a problem we had on the 27-day offshore passage to Hiva Oa. I put in a new bolt, but this one broke, and I think that it did because I needed to put in the set screws and also put in the key, and I found the key in the bilge. I don't know if that was in or not, I can't recall, but I definitely didn't adjust the set screws. So this time I'll put in new set screws and adjust that. But our trip to Hiva is going to be delayed by this if we're lucky. So at the moment we've got a screwdriver in there just to keep it in place, and then I'm going to try to put in the key if I can, but I'll definitely put in the bolt to make sure it doesn't pop out. So it lasted me, I don't know, 40 hours or so without the set screws redone, so I think it should last the whole trip, but I'll try to get everything done before we get to Hiva Oa. So here are the broken bolts from the first and second times. Alright, so this is the key which I found in the bilge, and I'm not sure if that was in there prior. It might have been when it fell off on the 27-day passage. And here's the new bolt that I'm going to put in. By sunrise, I was still working on it. The new shiny bolt is in. There's a new bolt, a new set screw, two set screws. We just need to get the seizing wire, and but I don't know where that is right now, so I think we have enough. I've been in the engine compartment all morning, but I got the shaft on. We got a new bolt on, new set screws on. The only thing left to do is find some seizing wire. I brought some seizing wire from the US on this last trip to Tahiti, and just don't know where I put it. But I think you can have the set screws in for a long time before you'll need the seizing wire. So I think, for instance, when we first bought the boat, we didn't have any seizing wire in our set screws, and the bolt broke, and that was blamed on the seizing wire, but it was probably in there for a long time before that happened. This is a set screw. They're kind of these square screws on top, and you put the seizing wire through them. But the bottom of this set screw should be rounded, and I think both of them have just been worn out, and that's why it broke both on the passage from Ecuador to Hiva Oa and today. Is that those set screws were not really set, and so the shaft is moving around, and that puts a lot of stress on the bolt, and the bolt breaks. It's also possible we didn't have when it broke the first time, I didn't put the key back in. I don't recall doing that. I'll have to check my logbooks on that. But I found the key in the bilge this time, and I put it in, so that's another thing in the favor of it lasting a lot longer than the, I don't know, 50 hours that it lasted since the last time we changed the bolt. And we got several spare bolts and a few spare set screws too, so this could happen again and we could still fix it. The key to fixing the engine was that I needed to slow down the boat, because when the shaft is spinning that much, there's a lot of pressure of water if you're going 4 knots to pull that out. And if I was able to slow down the boat to 2 knots, that made a big difference in being able to pull the shaft back into place and align it properly. So if this ever happens, you're best off if you're at anchor, but if you're underway, at least try to luff a little or something to go slow. Alright, you probably can hear the engine running in the background. Time for me to get some cereal. I was pretty sure on Saturdays the gas station closed at noon and we were running late because of all the propeller shaft problems. So we didn't get into Atuona until about 11 a.m. and I still had to deploy the dinghy because I wasn't dragging a dinghy offshore. Most of the supports are welded, but I guess this one wasn't, and it's pretty loose. I've never noticed that. The engine working. The propeller shaft is well secured, hopefully. Knock on fiberglass. And we're coming into port here in Hiva Oa with hopes to be able to catch the gas station before they close. I think they close around 12-ish today, and it's getting closer to 11. It's about 10 right now. So hopefully I'll be able to restock with diesel so we can have some more fun in the out islands. I'm pretty sure the gas station in Hiva Oa is closed on Sundays. There are only 2 fuel stations, gas and diesel, in the Marquesas. One's in Nuku Hiva and one is in Hiva Oa. The only bay that cruisers use to access Atuona and check in Hiva Oa is Bay Tahuaka. And it is not that close to Hiva Oa. It's about a mile or so walk from there. And it is always very crowded. You've got bow and stern anchors in the inner harbor, which is protected by a breakwater, except for where the Aranui turns around, and then there you might be able to use a single hook, and that's my hope. But I don't know. It looks somewhat crowded right now. Several boats went out, but it doesn't look great. We'll see. Okay, you can see the boatyard and the outer anchorage. In the end, I was too late to buy diesel, but I was able to do my laundry in a bucket using the public water there and buy some groceries. When I pulled up anchor, unfortunately, the anchor deployed just as I left the harbor, and I spent a couple hours trying to retrieve all the chain that had been dangling in the deep water. That meant I had to divert to a closer bay than Hanamenu, where I intended to go, because I was running out of daylight. Unlike Atuona, this Uncharted anchorage on the northwest side of Tahuata had white sand beaches and plenty of swinging room. It also was much drier than rainy Atuona. So I had a late start. I'm anchored here in this unnamed bay in Tahuata. Tahuata is the island 4 miles to the south of Hiva Oa, and is a great place to anchor. There are numerous anchorages. I was thinking of anchoring at Hanamenu, but that is a very popular bay, and I saw 7 masts before I got close to it and decided to turn back to this one, which was recommended. this bay does not have a name. It also has very poor electronic charts, so Garmin does not even give you the depths. Navionics gives you the depths, but their depths are off. That is, they're off by about 200 feet or so. So you do need a good depth sounder, but it also, the watercolor is pretty clear too. So I anchored in 20 feet of water, put out 130 feet of chain, and I have the whole anchorage to myself, and I could put out more if I wanted to. Unlike Hanamenu, where I think I'd be hard-pressed to find both protection and a lot of swinging room. Another great thing about Tahuata is that Tahuata has white sand beaches, which are fairly uncommon in the Marquesas. I'd say another benefit of coming to Tahuata if you come into Hiva Oa is that Hiva Oa's Atuona seems to have a different climate than the north side of Tahuata. North side of Tahuata is pretty dry. They get these white sandy beaches. It's more at very clear water, whereas you've got the muddy water from the rivers. You've got a rainforest in Hiva Oa Atuona, and that makes for a very wet climate. So I washed my clothes at the public taps of the non-potable water near the boat landing, near the boat ramp, and but I couldn't get them dry because it kept on raining. But they actually dried on the way in the trade winds, and they also will dry here because it looks like there's not a lot of water. There's just scrub grass, so it's more like kind of Bahamas here, and it's more like Panama in Atuona, that you have rainforest and a lot of rain. Change these climatic zones in just 7 short miles and go from a very crowded anchorage in Atuona to a very uncrowded one here in Tahuata. This looks like a great snorkeling bay and a great bay to walk on the white sand beaches, 2 things that you won't see in Atuona. I meant leaving Hiva Oa, so I thought we were going to have grand plans to anchor on the west side of Hiva Oa, and I was leaving Atuona, and unfortunately, because Atuona is so crowded, I did not feel like I had time to put on a safety line in addition to the pawl chain stopper on the anchor. And Atuona's harbor, Bay Tahuaka, it is exposed to the trade winds. It's on the south side, and once you get out of that, you've got the full trade wind swell in 100 feet of water, so you have some pretty steep waves. And so a 7-foot wave washed over the bowsprit, let go the chain stopper, and dropped all the chain, which I believe is about 180 feet, into the water, and in 100 feet of water. And I had a heck of a time driving the boat back onto the shelf to get it so that I could pull it up, because I can't pull up 100 feet of chain dangling on my own, especially if there's any pressure on it. I got that done, and then I come out again, and those waves were just killer. I had a safety on this time, and so the chain did not come out. But boy, it was just it's a struggle, those 3 miles to get around the headland around Atuona into the Bordelais Channel. But once you're in the Bordelais Channel, then it's pretty nice, because then you're downwind and the waves are not bothering you as much. So the 3 miles southeast are also on a shelf, so the waves are very steep. So you've got the wind and waves against you going out to get around the headland, and the waves are very steep. Once you turn the corner and head west, it's smooth sailing and very quick. Yesterday afternoon, I did not put on a safety in addition to the pawl. This is the pawl. Instance to put the chain grabber onto the chain in front of the pawl, and that would mean that they couldn't have an accidental deployment. Another safety would be to use something like this to bind the chain to this so it couldn't accidentally deploy. Paul accidentally flipped up and deployed all the chain when I was leaving Atuona. Today, when I anchor, I'm gonna make sure that I put on the safety before we get out into the water of the Bordelais channel and the bigger waves, which could accidentally deploy the anchor. Something I definitely do not want to do. After that marvelous night at the no-name anchorage in Tahuata, I wanted to get to Hanamenu the next day so I could make the hop to Wahuka the following day. I'm looking to go to the northwest corner of Hiva Oa and anchor there, something I was not able to do yesterday because of the weather conditions and the false deploying of the anchor. Meteo in Hiva Oa is visible today, so there's not a lot of clouds. We are looking to go to the west side of Hiva Oa, up around to the northwest corner today. Something we were not successful in doing yesterday. We're just going into Hanamenu, and it's a little rough because you have to go upwind for a couple miles once you round the cape on the northwest tip. Daly is excited about getting to the anchorage. Entrance to Hanemenu. There's the east side of the entrance to Hanemenu on the northwest coast of Hiva Oa. This is the outer anchorage. I think that'll have a lot of swell coming into it. I'm going to go for the inner anchorage to the left. It's like a shrine to buried. Only one sailboat is visible on the inner anchorage to the left. The inner anchorage was pretty large and could have held many more sailboats. There was very little swell, and it was a wonderful place to drop the hook. Nice couple in the boat anchored next to me here in the Bay of Hanamenu offered to give me a dinghy ride ashore. And we saw the place. There are several houses or shacks here. It kind of looks like a copra plantation. There are a lot of palm trees. There's a nice cold pool, and there's a water tap that is continually pouring out water. I don't know if it's potable or not, but it's very cool. And but there weren't any people there, so it's kind of like somebody's summer house or sometimes house. And I didn't see anybody there. The Hanamenu trail is the trail that I was on in January trying to climb Mount Timbuktu, and we got to the ridge of that, and then supposedly it was mostly downhill, but there was still a lot of up and down from there. It would lead to this village would be too much to say. I would say just a few houses here in Hanamenu. There's no cellular here signal, so it's pretty remote, and it's really only accessible by water. Hey, if you like this video, check out our other videos about cruising in the Marquesas, or better yet, subscribe to our channel so you'll get all our new videos when they're released, and hit that bell notification icon so you get a notice. If you haven't rung the bell, you might miss one. This video was brought to you by Mantis Marine and viewers like you. Support these videos by pledging on patreon.com/slowboatsailing and get other great rewards. like a free audiobook of my bestseller, How to Sail Around the World Part-Time. Mantas aim to design the most reliable anchor ever made. Other anchors often cannot set in firm or grassy bottoms, endangering your safety. The Mantas frequently sets the first time even in the most demanding situations. We sleep a lot easier using the Mantas anchor as our primary on the slow boat. Get yours at mantasanchors.com or other fine retailers.